Very warm greetings, everyone. Now, this section is specially dedicated to Gandhian concepts of sustainability and economics. Certain learning objectives for this section, for this particular lecture, would be to comprehend the concept of Gandhian economics, to understand trusteeship model, to comprehend the notion of economy of permanence by J.C. Kumarappa based on Gandhian ideology, to introduce notion of non-violent economy, and to understand Gandhian concepts of self-reliance and self-sufficient economy. All these concepts are pertaining to the basic fact of Gandhian economics. Now, how Gandhian economics can be applied to the discipline of economics. Economics has perception of Gandhian thoughts in economics emerges from the primary dimension or aspects of development emphasized by Gandhi. These aspects are mainly upliftment and enrichment of human rather than the higher standards of living. So, the two primary forces of economics, which are supply and demand, viewed from Gandhian perspective, are reflected in his two models, trusteeship model and economy of permanence. We will talk about it shortly. Gandhian economics, these aspects are mainly the upliftment and enrichment of human life rather than the higher standards of living. That's I just told you. The key driving force behind the Gandhian economics is the minimal possible respect for the human and social values in his philosophy. Ethical values are dominant than the economic values in his philosophy. Now, it is very important to see this demand side and supply side of economics from the Gandhian point of view. From the demand side, the Gandhian model of trusteeship model serves as the best model to unfold all the challenges. Gandhian trusteeship model unfolds the dilemma of problem of scarcity, which is the central problem of economics, by proposing the most efficient way of treating the surplus in the economy. An economic system that adopts Gandhian trusteeship model can comprehend the need and the plight of every human being that is living within the boundaries and the territory of the country. The government acts as trustee or custodian of resources and intends to distribute its resources equitably to all the living people in the society or boundaries. Now, it's a very, from the supply side, a statement given by J.C. Kumarappa. Now, J.C. Kumarappa was that time economist who was working with the team of Gandhian when they were fighting for freedom. He was very much a part of the freedom fight, and he was an economist at that point of time. So, contemporary economists of Gandhian era was J.C. Kumarappa, who said, everything begins somewhere and ceases to exist sometime. In his remarkable work, which is called as Economy of Permanence, was much emphasized on the thoughts of Gandhian. Sustainable economy was put forward, which finds its foundation with Gandhian perception and pathways of truth and non-violence. The notion of economy of permanence tackles the supply side of the economics. It is the concept of stock and flow. In other words, transient and permanent economy, depicting a sustainable pathway of both production and consumption. According to him, nature is considered permanent in comparison to human life, which is transient. Since man consumes nature when man is there on the earth, he consumes nature, lifetime of man is limited. That's why it is transient. On the other hand, nature survives longer time and it is considered permanent according to him. Kumarappa proposes the concept of economy of permanence. He says, world possesses a certain stock on reservoir of some materials such as coal, petroleum, iron ore, minerals like copper, gold, etc. These are available in fixed quantities. So they are considered as transient, or you can call them as stock. However, the other resources such as river, for timber from the forest, which can be regrown, and they are considered as permanent. Air, wind, sunlight, they are all permanent. They are not stock, so they are considered as flow. They are inexhaustible and they provide unlimited services to the mankind. The term permanent refers to the concept that surpasses beyond time and space. Human intellect fails to understand the absolute permanence which is embedded in nature. Kumarappa said so in 1958. The notion of economy of permanence advocates the choice of resources that are permanent. An economy based on philosophy of J.C. Kumarappa is not only environmentally sustainable, but it is also leads to sustainable growth. So this advocates the process of consumption for an economy that has potential to remain sustainable. An economy that relies more on permanent resources, as I said, air, water, replenishable forest, wood, etc., which are freely abundant and they are renewable. If you rely on those resources, one can easily visualize a permanent economy and a sustainable growth. The stock reservoirs, materials like coal, petroleum, they are all transient in nature, so they are exhaustible. So they will not lead to a sustainable economy. Apart from philosophy of consumption pathway of an economy, the fundamentals of J.C. Kumarappa, they also propagate a huge lesson for humans to live on this earth. They can base their philosophy of life, an economy, an individual who attempts to become a flow. Basically, it is the nature. Flow is depicting the nature of life. If your attitude and perception towards life is in a form of a flow, then you can perceive a permanent satisfaction in life. So, flow is in the context reflects sustainability or a sustainable goal that an individual can perceive a sustainable life and a purpose. An individual who adopts the nature of a flow like a river and floats with time, progressing towards achieving each step laid down for betterment in one way, the one who can live a successful life. He should never become a stock or a person who gets stuck at a point of time. He should adapt and flow like a river. So this is another concept which individuals can adopt. Production processes advocated by J.C. Kumarappa were based on cradle-to-cradle philosophy, which is a very famous C2C philosophy, which is famous in the sustainability world of climate change, generating lesser wastage and using more renewable resources in the production process. Now, it's very important to understand the phenomena or the concept of non-violent, self-reliant and self-sufficient village economy proposed by Gandhian thoughts. Violence is associated with quest for power, implying the desire to possess all materials and resources. This aspect is all about power, which comes through wealth and desire to rule, exhibiting supremacy over the others. So this is how the concept or the notion, the element of violence embodies or inculcates in the society. It's all about quest and thirst for power. In this, we can see that a centralized system, method of governance or production generally generates accumulation of capital in the hands of few. It leads to huge amount of political economy, concentration of wealth in hands of vested interest people, and concentration of economic wealth, which leads to competition, leading to violence and consequently maintaining hegemony and supremacy over the others. So this element or nature or character of human, which is basically the supremacy and power, it is born out of greed. Therefore, the need to expand based on greed instigates more and more of competitive environment and production in both the processes of production and consumption. This elementary aspect of Gandhian thoughts, which is self-sufficiency and self-reliance, is the benchmark, or you can say the driving force that leads individuals to a satisfied with the minimum consumption philosophy. Such a society which is self-reliant and self-sufficient, it is a community which is devoid of any concentration of power, warfare, unrest. Such a nation, such a society is peaceful and non-violent. It has an equitable distribution of wealth. Given such an economic setup or a regime, resources in the economy will be produced and consumed sustainably and for all the individuals, for the inclusive and betterment of every individual belonging to the society. So these are the basic concepts of Gandhian thoughts, which form the basic fundamentals which will lead to a peaceful society. And it is very important to understand that these fundamentals of Gandhian philosophy, which are not only taking care of economics, economic growth, development, as well as sustainability, they can be applied at wide range of aspects in every field or spectrum of one's society or life. If you consider climate change, sustainability, energy transition, the same concepts will unfold all the challenges presently going on in the global world. At the same time, in the future series and the future lectures, you will also understand that how these sustainability concepts proposed by Gandhian thoughts will also unfold the issues of migration later on. So these are such a universal facts in life that if you can apply them in an economic system, in a sociology aspect, you can apply them in the political system, you can even apply as a spiritual system for your spiritual benefit and growth, to understand life deeply, to understand the permanence of life. So it has a universal applications. Soon we will see that how these concepts of Gandhian thoughts and Gandhian models are applicable to climate change, to sustainability, to energy security, energy transition, and all the technologies which are being talked about in the current world. In a developed world, which is a globalized world, as well as which is also a high technologically oriented world, still there is a huge relevance of Gandhian thoughts, and it will continue because it is time tested, as well as it has a vision which was proposed 100 years behind the today's time. They had actually pointed out and visualized whatever is happening in today's world. It was visualized that time, 100 years back. The issue of climate change was first pointed out by Gandhian thoughts, and J.C. Kumarappa had proposed the economy of permanence then 100 years back. So this is the philosophy which has tested time and space. It is above time and space. It will be relevant, it was relevant, and it will be relevant in any era of human race. So this is what I have to say. There are certain references which are important for these thoughts. J.C. Kumarappa's two of the books are there, Economy of Permanence, which are important, which all of you can go through them. Then there are some papers related to them, and there are further references. So if you want to go deeper into his philosophy and apply it in any sphere of life, they are extremely relevant and time tested. So this is all about